You are listening to the Way of the Shaman podcast with your host, Kerri Husman. The content shared in the Way of the Shaman podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional or therapeutic advice. The views expressed by the host and interviewees reflect their personal experiences and opinions. Please consult with an appropriate licensed professional if you have any medical, psychological, or legal concerns.
Hello, and welcome to the Way of the Shaman podcast. I'm your host, Kerri Husman, and today we have Sharon Licata joining us from South Carolina. Welcome, Sharon.
Good morning. Thank you.
So glad you could join us. And just launching right in, I would really like the listeners to hear your story, how shamanism found you, specifically Michael Harner's work.
Okay. Really, I still kind of go, really? In my own way, that the spirits do come looking for you, or for a lot of us. And I had ended up with an illness. Now I am a sculptor, taught for many years in the visiting artist program in South Carolina, going into the schools, but also creating my own sculpture, both clay and stone and some other mediums. But for Michael Harner's work, it really came in kind of a back door. So I was struck with an illness, and that slowed me down enough that I started looking at things. And really, when the shamanism presented itself, I kind of pushed it aside for a little bit. But then finally, it was kind of like, okay, all these other things seem to be springing from this. Let me go back and look at what this actually is. So I actually took from some folks that had been trained that were kind of doing a hybrid at one point in time, and then went, okay, this is for real. I need to go get the real stuff.
And so how did your experience with your illness change or evolve when the helping spirits started working with you?
Well, in truth, to use a Southern expression, the proof is in the pudding. The illness, the diagnosis at least, was rheumatoid arthritis. And as an artist a 3D artist who worked with their hands, that was a little rough for a while. But very honestly, the working with the healing spirits, I use the word literally. I wouldn't say, those kind of autoimmune things don't totally go away generally. But I mean, that diagnosis was in November of 99. We're
Wow.
now quite a ways past that, many more than 25 years. And I'm still doing my art, still sculpting, and then also doing this work. So the helping spirits very much have been a part of that. The more I was willing to let them come in, as I knew, and agreed, because you always have free will with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, if for whatever reason they come calling, it's generally a better idea to pick up. The message is going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Let's leave it at that. But yeah, for me, the short answer would be, I'm not even sure I would still be on this earth in a human body, in a physical body, if I had not started doing this work.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful, Sharon. And I'm so glad. And show me your hands. Someone who's had rheumatoid for this long,
You can see it a few places, but
yeah, but realistically, they have done very well for the decades. Really, truly. Thank you for that. And so you had already been a sculptor. Then shamanism came into your life. How has shamanism influenced being a sculptor?
Well, I think many times it certainly influences the level that you work with your materials.
I see.
Because the whole idea that everything is alive and has a consciousness or an essence. And, both sometimes negotiating with the materials. Hey, can we create something new? But also I tend to work very clean, not abstract, but highly simplified forms, which most people don't actually realize are actually many times more difficult, because if something's got a lot of details in it and something's a little off, you're not necessarily going to see that as much.
Mm-hmm.
If a line's off, a single or one or two lines, and the line is off or the proportion's wrong, it's going to be real obvious.
Yeah.
But in truth, the spirits come in and you end up working pretty much at a deeper level with all of it. Has been my experience.
So it's, if anything, deepened your practice.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And then you've been an educator for a long time. And then you brought that education background to being a faculty member with the foundation. How has, and I don't know, were you, after becoming a faculty with the foundation, were you still teaching students with regard to artwork and sculpting and media? So how has that influenced being an educator?
Well, my mother told a story of me standing up in the bed and teaching in my sleep in the 8th grade, but so I may have been a little bit hardwired for it. But in truth, my master's degree is in audiovisual production, media arts. Was working at Emory Hospital and realized I needed to design instructional materials for the patient and staff. So I did go and take an actual instructional design workshop early on at the doctorate level. But then, so that was the first part of officially, I mean, I was a graduate assistant and helping in grad school, but that was officially when I was first. And that really has helped me understand how truly amazing these workshops are in terms of instructional design, how they're built, how they're put together, which is not something most people are going to be aware of.
Right.
At all. And then for me personally, though, again, when we moved back to South Carolina and I wasn't working in the hospital producing materials, then it helped design what I taught, went into the schools and taught, which was always a new thing. But for this work with the foundation, it was many of those years of literally every time you walked into a new school, it was going to be a slightly different situation. Sure. And you had to be able to flex to do that. And I feel like that experience has really, really helped when because these workshops are so interactive. When people have questions, the organization, I can look beneath the surface and say, okay, here are several ways to approach what you're thinking about, questioning about, concerned about. And that's, to me, is very important because people do have, a lot of the questions repeat. A lot of people do come up with different things, and you have to be able to think on your feet.
That's for
sure. Of course, the spirits help with that too.
Thankfully, they do. Yes.
Yes. I mean, I giggle sometimes. They'll be helping, and something will come out of my mouth, and I'm kind of halfway thinking, why did I say it that way? And almost invariably, somebody will come up with why I said it that way. One of the students will say something and I kind of think, okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, spirits, compassionate spirits. That's why we said it that way this time. And I think people need to understand that the workshops are always done fresh and live every single time to allow for that.
Yes.
That those questions and that interaction.
And those questions can be so unique. And, what I remind students is the questions open doors. We have a curriculum, And the questions open doors to new information that we can discuss. We're not obviously teaching techniques from other workshops, but we're helping people build their own foundational understanding, because people come in with their meditative practice, or maybe an energy healing modality, or something else metaphysical that they've learned, which is all not shamanism, but in some ways adjacent. They're recognizing that there are things outside of one's physical being that exist in some way, whether it be an energy field or something else. And helping them be able to contrast those two can be really, really valuable. So, speaking of contrasting, you teach in the Bible Belt. And while shamanism is not a religion, not a faith, not telling you to go change your religion or no religion or faith, you still teach in the Bible Belt. Tell us how you've navigated this as an instructor.
Okay. Well, the students come from all over anyway, but they certainly, when you're doing the in-person, though this last one, I actually taught this workshop recently, and they were a lot of the Southeast folks. But you navigate it, one, with the Spirit's help to begin with, but it's also over time you learn the language.
Mm-hmm.
You're not deliberately using something that is incorrect, but you're just more careful about what you say. Like in the South, divination can be a double-edged sword. Okay, so when people reach out to me as potentially for me to come help, for them to come for me help them, shamanic session of some sort, I literally reply back to them, do I have your permission to consult with my team on your behalf, my spirit team, my compassionate spirit team on your behalf? I don't say, can I do a divination journey for you?
Right.
Right. Again, I only work with compassionate spirits. That's who I'm going to go talk to, but I don't talk to them. I don't even ask them anything until you've given me permission.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the that's the best example I can come up with quickly for you, that you just, there's lots of things that this is what is similar to what they're already familiar with. It's just a different language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's letting the spirits speak through you many times to find that language.
That's right. And that's really a great example, Sharon, because, in many faiths, there is a bit of an understanding that if you wish to pray, you can pray to God, pray to Jesus, or pray to goddesses or gods in other faiths that don't just have one. And that's all fine, because everyone has their own belief system, and we appreciate that and respect that. And what's so interesting, when people start meeting these helping spirits, they can be meeting helping spirits from a variety of faith backgrounds. So there can be a Hindu goddess who shows up to help. Jesus and Mother Mary, they were my first helpers that appeared in my very first journey to the upper world. And, they continue to provide support. And so being prepared for some very familiar and possibly very unfamiliar assistance from the compassionate realms is there to provide you support and answer questions. And simply, that is what divination is. You're going to the helping spirits to answer a question for someone, or possibly for yourself.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
And again, it's one of those that people, like I say, don't really understand the meaning of the word a lot of times.
Right.
It's gotten whatever culturally it's gotten stuck in or applied to, correct or not. And you're right. I mean, prayer, okay, you're having a conversation with the spirit.
Mm-hmm. And it's different language, because in shamanism, one of the things that people are wrestling with understanding initially, and sometimes continuing to ask those questions, and no one's telling you to stop asking. Are the spirits real? And people have varying levels of proof of that when they've witnessed miracles, witnessed healings, gotten information that was exactly what someone needs, and that provides that sort of evidence. But if you are praying to Jesus or God or a saint or someone like that at night, you're also sort of acknowledging the spirits are real. Otherwise, what would be the point of prayer? And so it's really just a different language. It's not necessarily saying right, wrong. It's just a different language.
Yeah, and in truth, that's one of the things I've always loved about the foundation's work in people coming in as students. I mean, we don't even ask them to believe spirits exist. We
Right.
just ask them if they're going to come study with us to entertain the notion that spirits might exist and let us show them how to safely go find out.
Yes.
And then, we as instructors to get to enjoy many times the awe when they get back from those first few journeys, which is really what this workshop is all about learning how to
That's
safely
right.
go to the compassionate realms to meet these compassionate helping spirits.
So tell us a little bit about this, the Shamanic Journey, Pathway to Knowledge and Power. So the whole point of this workshop, can you tell us a little bit about what you, in your words, what you feel the point of this workshop is?
Okay. It is the beginning workshop in the online series. And very important in that regard. It lays the groundwork initially with how to work online and how to have a true interactive experience. We're through Zoom at this point, and we may change platforms at some point in time, but the interaction with people. But the workshop itself is really, truly about giving people, the students, an idea of what core shamanism is, and also to some degree what it's not. Not guided meditation. Shamanic Journey is not. And setting up where you're going and how to get there. And also how to use what we refer to as a sonic driver, how to go into trance, because shamanic journeying is done with theta brainwaves. It is done by shifting away from how our mind typically works during waking hours into the theta of trance and basically splitting so that we can travel. And the point is to be very deliberate about it. And the workshop itself is, again, giving you a basis of what's behind this, then setting up how it's done, and then turning you loose and letting you actually do it in real time in the workshop, coming back, sharing with each other about it, because really decompressing a little bit, talking about it after some of these things happen immediately is a really good time. And none of this is recorded. So there's absolute privacy. This is not going anywhere afterwards. We do not record. And then getting back together as the whole group and taking questions and discussing. And then from there, building on what we've done so far and taking the next step, the next piece, which is we literally get to both of what we refer to as the compassionate realms and give you several and there's a number of journeys in this first workshop.
So thank you for that, Sharon. That was an excellent description. And so students are given instructions, very specific instructions, but they still are having their own independent experience, choosing a departure point, choosing where they're beginning, something really established in ordinary reality that they feel safe or neutral, but certainly something that they can connect with as they begin their process. And as they follow the steps and possibly have success and possibly get stuck or get their conscious mind gets back in the way, we give students so much support for how to allow that conscious mind to step aside as a silent witness, for example, and observe rather than have to be in the driver's seat. And you have so many gifts as far as how to help students be supported in those first journeys, because for many people, they have a practice of something else like meditation, or they've had plant medicine experiences. And this is entirely different from that because you are beginning the process. So when you think about students who bring up the question, how can I tell that I'm not making this up? How do I know the spirits are real? How do you field these sorts of questions?
Basically, I pretty much giggle and say, okay, that's pretty much something everybody starts with, or at least it passes through your mind at some point. And many times with the students, I've part of what the support is okay, ask. The spirit's going to wait because you have free will, but ask for help. Ask for help with this. But with this particular thing, am I making this up? Then it becomes okay, go to your spirit team and ask them to give you some sign that you're going to react to with the response. There is no way in heck I'm making this up. And quite honestly, mine was incredibly small. My first helper that went with this work was a salmon. My power animal was a salmon. And I had just started interacting with him. I was still in the, is this, where am I with this? And finally, I set up that. Something made me do that. I guess it's back from my other religious life. A Gideon's fleece would be a way of describing it. But the thing he did was told me his name when I asked his name. And I would not have come up with the name Carl for a salmon. There was just no way. I mean, at that point in time, like I say, this was a number of years ago now, but at that point in time, I only knew one Carl. And it was the professor that taught the iron pourers, an art professor at East Carolina University, because I was in the Tri-State Sculpture Group here in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, sculpture organization. So I knew sculptors all over the three-state area.
Mm-hmm.
And so very small something, but it was like, all the other things, strange things that had happened on the journeys at that point. By that point, I was kind of going, well, I can see the connection. I can see where I could have created that in my head.
Not Carl.
Just no. Just no. So, and it can be that little, but it's absolutely, it happens to all of us. And you literally do say, hey, I'm having trouble with this. Can you show me, have something happen that's going to tell me, this is, because we talk a lot in the workshops, and a couple of the phrases that we use a bunch are ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality. And this, give you some idea that this non-ordinary reality is real. Because really, that's the phrase that's important with both of them. Because to the shaman or the shamanic practitioner, they're both real.
Yeah.
Both very real.
And learning to move between the two is something that takes time and practice and guidance from the helping spirits. Not something you're going to have mastered by the end of this 7-hour workshop. This is the taste to get you started. And, so what do you think? Students taking the shamanic journey, they've had experiences practicing, getting to the upper world and lower world. They will not be masters when they're done. They're encouraged to keep practicing. So the process, tell us a little bit about what happens in the process. So after this workshop, what do students take next?
If they're going straight through the online series, the next workshop is Shamanic Divination in Practice. And that is literally a workshop to expand the ability, your journey ability, your ability to interact with increasing number of spirits safely, with working through the ones that you have located in the compassionate realms that have agreed to work with you, those that continue to show up for you.
So you get to practice working on making good questions. I mean, this is a whole process, because how we normally put together questions is a little bit different when we're asking divination questions. Also get to work with different types of spirits in this class too, because you learn how to work with um, spirits in your space, which is pretty neat.
Yeah,
So,
and that second one is very also important for learning how a little bit more about how to call them here and work
yes.
with them in what we call middle world. So that's a very important part, and I'm very glad that that workshop is in place where it is.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too. I think it's really important. And some students choose to repeat either of these workshops because they just feel like, did I make that all up? I think I need to take it again just to be sure. And that's okay. This is all of us have taken, as faculty, all of us take these courses multiple times and grow and learn from them each time you take them, even if they're the most basic of workshops.
Well, yeah, and people come in at so many different levels.
Right.
Repeating the information is always an opportunity to go deeper, first off. And it's just incredibly important. The thing also, though, that people need to understand, and why we encourage people to take really good notes, is that, yes, virtually every journey you do in a workshop, and it's not just the Shamanic Journey workshop, can be repeated on your own once you know the setup and everything. And it's a good idea. A lot of them are good because those spirits will take you deeper and give you more information as you're ready to understand it.
Yes, and that's a great point, Sharon, and that you can access the drumming recordings, so you don't have to know how to drum and journey. So be, keeping with ordinary reality, keeping this beat while you're journeying. We learn how to do that with time and practice. We don't expect people to be able to do that day one. And so the recordings are available for free. They're on the Foundation's YouTube page. And we have multiple types of recordings to listen to, all at about the same speed to ensure supporting a trance state. So that's available right after you've taken this course to keep practicing. And
Yeah,
Sharon,
and I am so thrilled that we
yes.
have done that within the last year. I mean, actually a little bit, now that occurs, because during the pandemic, when we were first reformulating, taking the workshops online, making sure they stayed interactive, as opposed to just a talking head, the I mean, this wasn't available. This
Right.
this is so wonderful that we've gotten this taken care of now and is available, because I did have somebody that didn't have a CD that they'd loaded up to their phone or whatever, and I was teaching the soul retrieval workshop online the first time, and she was bringing the soul portion back for somebody and had an ad pop up in the middle of the drumming. Like, not ideal. So that doesn't have to happen anymore, and that's wonderful. But like I say, yeah, but please make sure you do get to the Foundation's website, because the other stuff, we worked really hard to make sure there were enough plays that the ads came off of those drumming MP3s.
That's right.
Yeah.
And students can also still purchase them, the downloads, the MP3 downloads, if they'd like to have them not streaming in case they're concerned about their bandwidth if they're on a Zoom call and having to stream as well. Or they can stream off their phone too if they need to. So it's nice to have options.
Yeah.
For sure. So when students seek you out or they reach out, I'm thinking about taking the shamanic journey. Can you think of questions that you've commonly heard students ask about it?
The main one is, am I going to be safe while I'm doing this? And that's absolutely, that's part of our job as instructors to help hold the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And we do very carefully set sacred space or set a circle as before we get started amongst all of us in participants in that particular meeting. And every time, and we teach you how to do that in this workshop, or at least give you some examples and discuss it a little bit, how you end up, all of us have different ways of calling the circle.
That's right.
But so safety's one of it, and letting them know that, yes, you're going to have a safe place to experiment with this.
Mm-hmm.
Go and do your journeys. We're going to hold the space for you. And you could focus on what you're doing, not trying to focus on 3 things at once. Yeah, like you said, with using the MP3s instead of doing your own drumming to begin with, certainly. Yeah. But in truth, even, a lot of us still turn it on in the background, like when we're doing healing work and things like that. Mm-hmm. Just one less thing to focus on, except when we're perhaps actually working with the spirit of the drum for something specific.
Yeah,
we appreciate that as part of the team that comes in. Something else in terms of it. Sometimes it's off the wall questions like, can I take one session with you and one session with somebody else? And the short answer to that is no, because there's very much a requirement of respect that allow that group of students to interact with each other. Okay. And even if you're get ill in the middle of a workshop and you retake it with that instructor, generally you're going to be asked to retake the whole thing so that you are integrated into the group of students, because you do work with each other. You share with each other. You give each other feedback. You journey for each other. Mm-hmm. And that perhaps is maybe the thing I enjoy most with the shamanic journey is toward the end of the first day, you've learned how to you've made that first journey down to the lower world, compassionate realm, and now it's time to do it again. But this time, you're going to go down and find those animal spirits and ask them a question. But you're not asking a question for you.
Right.
You're taking your partner's question, because we pair everybody up. And in truth, yeah, everybody's a little nervous about that. They're, the adult, am I going to get it right thing?
Right.
Among others.
I don't want to let them down. I don't want them to be disappointed. I didn't get anything.
Yeah. And we tell them no backstory. Just give a question, give an open-ended question, kind of a who, what, where, why. We don't do wins because you're between time and space in the spirit realms. But an open-ended question so the spirits can give you lots of information, not just a straight yes, no. And we send them down with a partner's question without much other information other than the partner giving them their name and the question.
Why don't you want them to have much backstory, Sharon? Why is that?
Then we don't really want their own mind to start trying to figure it out, to be absolutely honest.
Yep. That conscious mind starts to want to fix the problem. There's a lot of solvers and fixers who are drawn to this work. They want to heal the planet. They want to help others. They want to assist suffering beings. And so that conscious mind wants, oh, I know what she needs. Oh, nope, you don't. You're setting all of that aside.
So, we put them together. They exchange their questions. I literally have them, or at least I suggest, they set up 2 pages in their notebook, with their questions so they can get their answer from their partner, and place for them to write their partner's question, place to take their notes from their journey and, come up with the answer for their partner. And we turn them loose. And it's just, there's more details to it than that. But when they come back, they've recorded their journey. And they're not going to describe their journey to their partner. They're going to answer the question that the spirits gave them as a result. And we turn them loose and send them back out into the breakout rooms to privately exchange their answers. And, it's really, really fun when they come back to the classroom. In terms of the valuable information that shows up.
And sometimes people are just like, I'm not sure I got there, but it felt good in my heart. And I got this answer. And I was in a different space. And so sometimes there's just some reassurance needed. But for each person, this is non-consensual. One person winds up in a meadow. One person winds up in an ocean. One person is sitting on a cloud. One person is in the middle of a tree. And they're all in the same realm. And it's okay.
And there's lots of levels in both of them. So, lots of different places. But, just the whole idea that, I did get what this person needed to hear and to see or to whatever. And that is pretty powerful.
It is. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people who are drawn to this work and want to be of service in some way. Some people are drawn to work with plants. Some people are drawn to work with the deceased. Some people want to be able to ease suffering in sometimes a specific context, like hospice or palliative care. After this workshop is completed, this very first foundational, fundamental workshop, you certainly don't know all the skills and tools yet. It's just the very beginning. What can someone do to be of service after taking just this workshop?
The exercise we were just talking about, helping a person phrase up if they have an information concern that they would like some compassionate spirit guidance on. You should be able to, at this point, go and ask the spirit that question for them. Now, there is going to be a learning curve with anything. But when we, and the spirits see it as us sacrificing, when we invest our time being of service to someone else, and they have a tendency to come on a little stronger at that point. They'll certainly help us with our stuff, but if we're trying to be of assistance to someone else, they come on stronger. So we help the person coming to us. One, we get permission before we go asking spirits anything about anybody. But if somebody's come with a question for us, we help them phrase it so that we can take it to the spirits in a way that it is about them, not about somebody that neither they or we have permission to be asking about.
That's right.
Right? And that's a classic one is a relationship question. Okay. And it's more of a, what does Susie need to know about this, as opposed to why is so-and-so, her partner, doing something?
Right.
In terms of, no, I don't have permission to go ask why so-and-so is doing something, because he or she hasn't given me permission to do that. So those kind of things are things you learn in the workshop, some ethics behind this, but also very much And it's actually good to practice doing this. And that is one thing that I do my very best to strongly encourage the new students and actually all the way through to do. And that's really one of the things that I found that the online has as an advantage. You know, you can get on Zoom or
This is
whatever.
true.
Almost all of them have a free version, not like the professional one we use to teach. And practice with each other. Doesn't matter. You got to figure out when it's not the middle of the night, one or both of you. But unless that's when you're most alert. But you could be on other sides of the world and getting on Zoom or another program like these and practice with each other. Set space together, exchange questions, turn the drumming on, and go get answers for each other and practice.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I mean, like I say, it's a lot of privacy that very careful about with the foundation. We don't send out email addresses, but I always leave it where they can exchange. I leave it up at the end of the program so they can send each other back and forth the emails so they can stay in touch if they want to. And I'll be honest, it's strictly voluntary, but I strongly encourage them to take advantage of practicing with each other. And then they could reach out to family, friends, whatever, and continue. Because there is going to be a learning curve of how the language of the spirits works with you.
Right, because it is unique to you. For some people, they journey entirely by smell or pressure changes and get information sometimes entirely in metaphor and sometimes words.
Yeah. And I mean, and how the spirits show up for you can be that way too. I mean, you may energetically feel them at your shoulder. Occasionally it's across a table like you and I are talking now.
Yeah.
Or you could just kind of sense them somewhere near you, but they're showing you stuff, or as you said, smelling, or you're hearing, or you're feeling the pressure change. Or, there's so many different ways. The main thing, as you're just getting started, that we focus on is making sure that at least to start, you are making sure you get into one of the compassionate realms to interact with the spirits.
That's true.
And ask for that information and ask the questions there and then come back first till you're comfortable with working with and actually have those spirits that have stepped forward and have agreed to work with you. And you're kind of getting where you recognize them, regardless of where you are.
Thank you for that, Sharon. And another question I'd like to ask is about essentially, what are the opportunities for asking faculty members questions after workshops or being able to attend a drum circle, to practice journeying, to practice divination after the workshop? What do you have to say to that, Sharon?
Okay. Well, a number of us have journey circles that are open journey circles. Now, on mine, initially, if you go to my website, I'm set up with an event program and such. I do have a buck on it just because that way Facebook will send me a notice that, not Facebook, if I PayPal, they'll send me a notice that somebody is interested, but you do not have to do that. And I doubt you, because we don't charge, and it certainly doesn't charge going forward. There's no charge for journey circles. I do mine on Zoom since the pandemic. They're open. I'll use mine as an example. Mine meet right now, the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. But what it is a community group. It's not instruction. Okay.
Right.
It's a come together. But that's the only requirement, that you do know how to do shamanic journeying. Don't have to have taken it with me. It's not just my students, far from it. But community group, we get together, decide on the topics. Everybody journeys on that topic first, shares, then we do the second journey and also share. So it's a time to practice, get familiar, learn more about, deepen your language with how your spirits communicate with you, all of those things. Now, back to student teacher interaction after or even during a workshop. Some of us at various points in times have follow-up sessions, gathering together. Then also, and those depend on how much the students want them a lot of times. Okay, trying to get everybody back together after the fact, depends on the group. Then, but also all of us, I emphasize innumerable times, you've got an issue or got a question, shoot me an email. It may take me a day or two to get back to you, but I will get back to you if we need to. We'll get on the phone or we'll get it back on Zoom and work through it. I mean, all of us. The goal here is to broaden the number of people who know, again, how to communicate with compassionate spirits, wherever that takes them safely.
Thank you for that, Sharon. As we're wrapping up today, I'd just like to remind everyone that while this workshop is the first in the online series, we have The Way of the Shaman, which is a 2-day workshop in person. That's another starting point. Either one is perfectly all right. But if you'd like to learn more about this workshop, there's links below. And if you'd like to learn more about Sharon's practice and Sharon's teaching, her links are going to be below there as well. But thank you for joining us today. We're so glad you could tune in to the Way of the Shaman workshop to learn about the shamanic journey, a pathway to knowledge and power. And thank you, Sharon, for joining us.
Glad to be here today. Thank you.